somehow without using their only hearing T to get across their space. Well, it looks like a government shutdown is...
Don't ever buy segment rings.
Bioships emerge from a nearby quantum...
Unless you're into it.
If you can't do it, don't buy them.
Whatever that is. I'd say it's a planet, but you're so close to it, that only works if the cubes are the size of India. Whatever it is, it blows up and takes out a couple more cubes, while the cube-towing Voyager makes a break for the cliffhanger. Like we discussed previously, it was often a habit to end on a cliffhanger without an idea of how to resolve events. It's what was done with Best of Both Worlds and Equinox for certain, and it's been implied in other cases. So the fear among the cast was whether or not the second part would live up to the promises of the first, or whether it would crash and burn. Let's find out. Chakotay's first order of business is to try to get Janeway back, but Torres can't seem to beam her back. No good. Maybe I should try that skeletal lock thing. Well, let's see. Neelix, how's Tuvok doing? Oh, I'm not sure if this goes to the arm or the leg. Don't can it, you big baby. I think Tuvok agrees. You and your skeletal lock can go to hell. As the crew try to rescue Janeway, she calls them up to say not about it. A pity Harry's not here to enjoy that idea. The Borg have agreed to escort them across their space if they agree to work together on developing a weapon along the way. Chakotay's nervous about this whole arrangement, and Janeway really does nothing to put his mind at ease.
I have an idea.
The idea of removing the tractor beam is met with a
I have a pair of hemostats.
Janeway also wants whatever's left of
Do you like pliers that lock in place?
Sack and beamed over to help her. Cap is dead. Doctor shows Chakotay the
Where are they?
I need to get up.
Each capable of targeting the alien tissue. But some of them, just momentarily.
We've only been doing this like an hour and a half. Are you pussy?
Taking the alien tissue along with it. So as a weapon, this will transform the aliens on the cellular level and then melt them alive.
What does that look like on the floor?
What's your problem?
Not a segment ring?
No.
What is it? Lead?
Just a piece of metal.
Let's go try a weapon.
Wait, why is there just a piece of metal on the floor?
Fortunately for
Can I see it?
one of the 50 most beautiful people in the world, so the cure starts working. Over on the cube, things aren't off to a promising start. Janeway and Tuvok are led to their work area, only for the
it looks like a pin.
transceivers in their
It does.
so they can be temporarily assimilated, just like immunity.
Whoa.
Janeway isn't
Whoa, can you plug this fucking thing in?
Someone to operate as their voice.
You can.
She quickly turns this into
For a light or what?
She is a representative of the Alliance intended.
Oh, instead of batteries?
Remember that fact, it would be important. The Borg agree to have a representative, and that can only mean...
I'm going to stretch my legs anyway. Previously on Voyager, everything that normally happens happened, only more so. I speak for the Borg. This is 7 of 9, tertiary adjunct of Unimatrix 01, but you can call her Cybertip for short. They begin discussing how to turn this into a weapon. Tuvok suggests putting it into an explosive torpedo, but the Borg shoot it down immediately, and for obvious reasons. You're not going to put tiny, delicate things inside something that's exploding. That's not particularly useful, is it? I'll admit some apprehension when I heard Brian Braga was going to be writing for 24. Mr. President, the terrorists have attacked with every deadly bioweapon known all at once, in one place. My God, how do they do it? Aerosols in the subway, crop dusters flying over cities, contaminating our water supply? Even worse. They put it all on top of a can of TNT, lit the fuse, and ran like hell. Diabolical. How bad is it? One man near the weapon is already dead. This anthrax is so deadly it tore a man's arm off. However, the Borg's only complaint is that the explosion isn't going to be big enough. Theirs is going to cover 5 light years. Except if it takes light 5 years to travel that distance, how long is it going to take a nanoprobe to fly that far? Are they going to put tiny nacelles on them or something? But what this helps establish is the alien nature of the Borg in comparison to us. Janeway's proposal is essentially small-scale shock and awe, to swiftly eradicate a few bioships to make the others flee, while the collective finds this all impractical and, frankly, suspect. Discovery Part 1 described the Borg as close to pure evil, but evil implies an intent towards malevolence. The Borg do what they do because, no matter what you might be protesting, they
honestly believe what they're doing is for your own good. Likewise, they're not talking about creating a massive weapon because they want to have collateral damage. There's no logic in collateral damage. But because the idea that the destruction of just a few could possibly end this conflict seems absolutely nonsensical to them. Species 8472 has sufficient numbers and technology to win this war, even if some are lost. What does it matter if 100 fall to secure victory? Because that's how the Borg see it. In the end, they only relent because by the time they would have sufficient weapons that they approve of, it will be over. But the concept remains.
You are individual. You are small, and you think in small terms.
This isn't because the Borg like speaking in spam headers. It's just the nature of their perspective. That for all the talk of them being an insect hive, it's individuals that seem like bugs by comparison, each one concerned with matters from the insignificant, like their own continued survival, to the criminally trivial distractions. So when Janeway starts trying to get information on 7 of 9's individual history, it's all brushed aside, like being under fire in a foxhole and the person next to you going, "Is that your natural shade of hair? That really suits you. It complements your eyes. Oh, this reminds me of..." I mean, that's what this is like for the Borg. It's one long road trip with someone who has chronic flatulence and feels the need to babble about every insignificant thought that pops into their head. Things manage to take a turn for the worse as species 8472 goes into Kessa's head and discovers what the plan is. Wow, a weapon that can destroy us on the cellular level, which could turn the tide of this entire conflict. This is the kind of threat that can only be answered by, sending one little ship in. 8472, you and the Borg are made for each other. With Voyager getting pounded, the Borg take the shot, injuring Janeway in the process. Oh no. And then ram the bioship, destroying both of them. Before they're destroyed, they beat the lab area over to Cargo Bay 2. This situation shows how strained this alliance is. The Borg are beings of logic, without ethics. They will take any advantage presented, not because they're evil, but simply because it's the only logical thing to do. And Voyager presents their own problem. Because there is no unified will amongst the crew, each individual is unpredictable and dangerous. The captain says you can beam over to her ship, and suddenly her crew comes in pointing weapons at you after you sacrifice your ship and tens of thousands of Borg to save their lives? Yeah, you're welcome. There's just no room for trust in this relationship in either direction. Look at how close this thing has come to falling apart time after time, starting from one single action that quickly balloons into something that threatens the alliance to fall apart. So when Janeway's about to be put into a coma so that she can be treated, she tells Chakotay to try to preserve the alliance. But she's really asking him to pull off an impressive hat trick. Things are already off to a bad start for Chakotay. At Voyager's maximum speed, the war will be over by the time they cross Borg space, creating an impasse. The Borg will lose without this weapon to win right now, and Voyager won't give up the nanoprobes because there's no guarantee they won't get assimilated. This alliance is held together by only the flimsiest bits. If only they had some common ground, like boobs. That's something Chakotay can put his trust in. So the Borg want Chakotay to head back into Borg space to rendezvous with one of their ships, but it's a 5-day journey in the wrong direction. And besides, aren't these cubes super fast? Why don't they head to Voyager? Why aren't they using their tech to haul them across their space while they're at it? I mean, if they could drag the Hansons across the galaxy, they ought to be able to get Voyager 1,000 light years or so, right? Well, Chakotay decides it's too dangerous to turn back, and so he's prepared to end the alliance, and tells everyone else. For some reason, Helix is there for the briefing. Commander, you can't just flush them all out into space if they resist. It's a waste of perfectly good food. Foolish thing to do. Don't judge me! Chakotay's plan is to leave the Borg on an uninhabited planet with supplies and the nanoprobes. The amusing thing is Seven's response about the flaws of humanity. What I like about it is that it smacks of the arrogance of Season 1 Picard, speechifying on the awesomeness of humanity, except it's about the awesomeness of being Borg by comparison to humanity. It shows it for what it is, arrogant pride. Even the Borg aren't immune to it. But like Picard, they've gotten pecker-slapped by someone who's proven stronger than them, who's going to be defeated by a Voyager in the end. I just realized, Scorpion at its root is really just a very large game of rock, paper, scissors. At the moment, Rock is bashing the hell out of Scissors, so the collective decides it has no choice but to seize control of paper and send it into the realm of Rock to defeat them. As always, this can be done with a deflector, because the deflector can do anything. 7 of 9 heads to the Jeffries tube and does the fiddling, so Chakotay opens the door to flush all the drones out into space. It doesn't solve anything. They still get pulled into a